Good morning and welcome to the coolest coast where it is 47 degrees and cloudy. Thankfully, the rain has stopped today. I'm Tina Prigge for Coffee on the Coast, and I'm joined by my fellow mom and entrepreneur, Kristen Odell. Kristen, how's it going this morning?
It is great.
So we are so thankful for everybody that's been participating in this show with us week after week. And one of the comments that we got, some feedback, is that it seems like everybody is bouncing between being Martha Stewart and hanging on by their fingernails during this quarantine. And so this week, yes, that's it. This week, we are reminding ourselves that it is okay to not be perfect.
Mm. Yeah, it's a hard thing. So Jason's got this new Bitmoji that I found, but like we're all juggling all the things. Does this look like me, guys? Yeah, so I mean, there's like the laundry and the cleaning, and I'm doing conference calls, and I've got the coffee and the vacuum, and a lot of days, that's really what it feels like. It feels like we're juggling all the things.
It
So,
does feel like we're juggling all the things. And
right, go.
and some of those things, right? We just have to let them go. And so we're interested to know, what are some of the things, Kristen, that you're planning to let go? Viewers, what are some things that you might let go?
So,
And so keep that in mind as we're having this conversation, and feel free to share them with us.
yeah, so Jason's got this this spoof of let it go, can't hold it back anymore. That was my best theatrical rendition of Let It Go for all of you.
Yay, bravo, bravo. That was fantastic.
Yeah, so sometimes it's just time to say, I'm gonna decide that I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not only not going to do it anymore, but I am not going to feel guilty about it anymore. So at our house, that thing was insisting that the sink was empty of dishes all the time. And so this is not just like a thing that is hard for me. This is actually something that is hard for Doug as well. We tend to just be people that like to see the kitchen sink clean. But when you're pumping, 3 meals and snacks out of your house in a day, it is next to impossible to keep the sink empty. And we literally just stopped and had a conversation and said, I'm like, Doug, we just can't keep loading and unloading the dishwasher all these times during the day. I just physically don't have the bandwidth to do it right now. So we've kind of stepped back and just said, we're going to be okay with dishes in the sink. Nothing bad has happened because the dishes have been in the sink.
Right.
Nothing as bad has happened. My mental state is better because I'm not putting the pressure on myself to be in there cleaning that sink up and loading the dishwasher. And I would say that Doug has also agreed with me. See, Sarah Jane, she's with me. Housework, it's so hard to do it all. So, yeah.
And I think that that's pressure that we are putting on ourselves, right? Based on the expectations that we assume society has or that other people have. But when we can let it go, when we can roll with it and give ourselves permission not to be so perfect, we don't have to, our houses do not need to look like the inside of a magazine, right? We do not have to live like that. This is what really resonates with me, right? Here, this person is doing a video conference from home, and you can see right behind him, everything is perfectly curated, while the rest of the house is a complete wreck.
Mhm.
And that is okay.
Right. I mean, it's just very real. Yeah, here's another good one. Farts, cats, naked bodies. People are failing hilariously working from home. Yeah, it's just not sustainable to keep it all up. We are humans at the end of the day, and we're
And
all, go ahead.
I, I know that they call those fails, but I am so thankful in these sort of dark times to have the levity of that, right? That to see authentically how people are, going through this experience, how they are in their homes, that not everything is perfect. I find that kind of reassuring. And I'm also thankful for the times we get to see the cats or the funny incidents,
Mhm.
that levity is welcome.
Right. Yeah, here's another one. I'd invite you in, but my life's a mess, right? And I think, I certainly with friends and family, I don't have that expectation for them that their house is going to be perfect or immaculate. In fact, I almost feel more welcome sometimes when there's the pile of mail on the counter or the dishes in the sink because it feels real. And maybe sometimes in some way it almost takes the pressure off me to feel like I have to have those things done when they come to my house. Yeah, here,
Right.
this is my girl Raisa. Mental switch to be okay with letting go is so freeing. It is.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really okay. And actually, like I said, my mental health I think is actually better when I just choose to let it go and be okay with it than it is with all the pressure of trying to maintain and keep all of those things up.
Right. I've kind of given up and I've just started naming the dust bunnies rather than trying to spend my time getting them all swept away. And
Yeah,
I think too, what you were saying, Kristen, how it feels more comfortable going to somebody's house when there's evidence that somebody's living a good life there, right? When you see the mail or you see there might be some dishes on the counter, when things are like too clean and tidy, when it looks like the centerfold of a magazine for like, Martha Stewart Living or something, it almost makes me a little nervous. Like, how
yeah.
is this life unfolding here?
What's going on here that it's so perfect here? I mean, that's real. I think
Hmm.
I don't know if you have this handy, but Jason, our fabulous producer,
Yay, Jason.
I sent another picture of our kids' play table. And so as you can see here, there's a very, intricate Lego design happening here. There's bodies everywhere. We have the thank you to Mrs. Meyer teacher sign that didn't get sent in. And it's just kind of one of those things. It's another thing where I just decided it's okay if the Legos are on the table overnight. Like we used to try to pick that stuff up at the end of the night, but they're bringing it out every day. They're doing these intricate designs, and like, who am I to stop the fun? And again, the Legos staying on the table overnight doesn't matter.
And I kind of think there could be some continuity that way then too, right? Where you stop the play for the day, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you've played out the story. So to be able to pick up where you left off, I think maybe might lead to some deeper exploration and play.
Right. Yeah, just lets them come back and kind of continue and have fun or fight over who gets what Legos the next day. It all it all just depends on what's happening in that particular moment. Um,
Oh, Sarah, people always apologize about the state of their house, and I just laugh. Mine is the same or worse. I think that that's actually maybe if there are any benefits to this quarantine, one benefit is that there are no surprise visits, right? Like you don't have to worry about somebody popping in and seeing the house in a total disaster state.
I just want to say for the record that I will never be unwelcome to surprise visits again. Friends and family, you stop by anytime you want. I'll put the coffee on.
Nice. I love that.
Yes.
So we've given up on trying to be perfect so that we can show up fully and actually live this life, right? I think perfection is overrated. It's limiting and basically it cuts us off from what we're capable of doing and giving and receiving and becoming, right? Like why would you want to turn someone away from visiting you just because, you hadn't dusted the baseboards, for example, or because you hadn't done the dishes?
Right.
Welcome, right?
Yeah. And I think, like there's like such a balance between, I wouldn't say that we're also talking about just go be lazy and don't do what you need to do. That's not what we're saying either, right? You can still work really hard, but it's just finding that level of balance that brings mental health, that brings fun, that brings, creativity to your point, Tina. Um, it just is finding that right balance of where do I need to really keep working hard to make sure things keep moving forward? And then where can I take a break or just be a little bit more flexible with myself?
Right.
So,
Jeff Tess. His kitchen is the cleanest room in the house.
that doesn't surprise me, Mr. Jeff Tess. He's been putting up some pretty amazing food pictures on his Facebook page. So,
Very nice.
yeah, I'm starting to wonder if takeout's available from Jeff Tess's house.
Jeff, you ought to think about that. So I think it's important to give ourselves permission to prioritize, Kristen, like you were saying, right? Like taking care of what's important and letting the non-essential or things that don't have much consequence, it's okay to let those go. I have to remind myself that not every minute of my day has to be consumed with something absolutely productive, right? Like it's important to have those gaps where you give yourself downtime to be creative and to just, let your brain percolate on life and what's happening and make the connections so that you can, I feel, be deeper the next time you pick something up and go.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Angela Myers. There will always be clothes to wash and dishes to do. Every once in a while, it's more important to just be there with your family. Yes. Great.
Fully agree.
Thank you so much. Right. It is. It really is. And I think, for those of you sitting back and thinking, I don't even know what to give up or I don't even know what can go. Here's how Doug and I approach this. We can't stop work. Like I still am supporting a ton of HR clients right now. Doug is still working. So like we know we can't stop doing our jobs. I can't stop schooling my children. I can't stop feeding the dogs, right? All of these things are things that like we have to do. Then we beyond that kind of made a mental list of, well, what things can go or what things do I have flexibility with? And once you kind of have that list, then you can really look at things of these are things I can tolerate letting go, and these are things that just are not negotiable for me. And that's really how you can decide. So I think sometimes in the beginning, especially for individuals who put, Tina, like you said, that pressure on themselves to do it all, it's really hard to even figure out, I don't even know how to give something up. And so I would say go and make that list of things you have to do and things that maybe have some flexibility. And that just can start opening your mind up to where are there places where you can make a change.
Right. There are things that we have choices about, and it's those things that we can definitely change.
Right. Right. I think though some people, I know I certainly have been in moments of time where I don't feel like I have a choice with anything. Right. So there you put so much pressure and or carry so much guilt about it not getting done that it doesn't feel like a negotiable, even if it really is. Right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So that self-talk of like, if I don't vacuum, there's going to be these dog dust bunnies all over the floor. And, who's going to judge me? The dog.
I I did see somebody had a cute comment and they called it a pet hair tumbleweed.
Yes. Right. Yes. That is exactly right. Um, and you know what? Sometimes I just walk by and grab them, snatch it up off the floor now and just keep right on walking because it is hard. Or sometimes then I look at those as opportunities too to teach my kids how to help out, right? I have children that are old enough to handle a vacuum. And so am I carrying that load when they could be helping or contributing to our house in a different way than they have in the past?
Exactly.
So,
Nice. Yeah, and speaking of the kids too, so when I feel pressed with all the different priorities, sometimes I'll think, is it more important right now for me to do the dishes and to sweep? Or with my son being home from school, is it more important if I just, take that hour and spend some time with him? And
right.
so, in the end, it all gets done. It just might not be, you know, done as perfectly or as soon as I might normally expect of myself.
Yeah. I think that's a real, I mean, I know, especially when the girls are little, but still find myself doing this. I will let things like loading the dishwasher or switching laundry around go until after they're going to bed. So like whether I do it at 6 or I do it at 8:30, yes, it's 2 hours difference, but if I spend time with the girls at 6 o'clock, then we get to hang out or be outside or do whatever. Versus once they're in bed already, then it doesn't really matter. And so why not take advantage of that, little bit? It's okay. Nothing's going to happen other than maybe the load of laundry in the dryer won't be dry quite all the way yet.
Right. And the memories that we're making with our kids right now, I think far outweigh whether or not, the laundry gets turned over at a certain point.
Right. That's right. And I just think too, from a mental health standpoint for our kids, I know my oldest especially is struggling with not seeing her friends and struggling to not be with other kids right now. And so my ability to be present and do things with her, play games or play catch outside or, do it, whatever we're doing together, go for a walk. I think that she feels socially supported then because I am present in that moment. Not that I can ever possibly fill the absence of her friends. It's not the same, but it makes it a little bit more digestible, I think, for her to know that I'm gonna be present in that moment with them.
Speaking Oh, yes. Oh, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier too, right? Like feeling like I have to have every moment just packed to the gills with something productive, like a constant hustle. And I like that this graphic is showing that instead of hustle, think about it more as a line, right? It's important to embrace that concept of rest, recovery, and reflection as essential parts of our progress for an ultimately happy life.
Hmm. So, Tina, how do you find time to do that rest and recovery? Where does that come for you?
Um, I think that it happens a lot late at night. So I'm kind of a night owl. Oh, by the way, see, we're not perfect. We didn't even show our coffee mugs today. Cheers.
Cheers.
So I like to, hit the ground running. I hustle most of the day, but then I give myself permission once everything winds down, once the dishes are done, to just blah, veg out, right? Whether it's binging something on Netflix, whether it's playing a computer game, whether it's, you know, playing Street Fighter with my son, right? Which I'm terrible at, but it's worth it.
Sure.
How about you? How do you find that time?
So I'm a big fan. I think I've mentioned this before, but I have been trying to get up and work out in the morning early, before the girls get up, because I find if I don't do it in the morning, then it is harder for me to get it in the rest of the day because I am distracted by other things. So I just know for me that that's a mental health thing. I have much more patience with the girls. I have much more patience with Doug, and I just feel, I guess, more wired to handle what I need to handle for the day when I get that in. Um, and then I think the other thing too is, especially as it relates to schoolwork, we're trying to do schoolwork and stuff in the morning, and then a couple of days a week, the afternoon, I really try to have that just be full of play and being outside. So, the girls and I recently went to Woodland Dunes and went hiking on some trails we hadn't been before. And so I try to really thoughtfully say, I'm not going to work in the afternoon on some days just so we can go and do those things and be together and be outside. Um, so, yeah, it's hard.
Here's a great comment from Kim. So her kids are grown, but she remembers doing a lot of laundry late at night or early in the morning, dishes, etc. It will all still be there to do, but the kids don't stay little. And even teenagers need time with parents. These are uncharted waters. So we all need to take care of ourselves, remind ourselves that we need to take time just to be. Well said, Kim. And Kristen, I like what you were saying, for example, that you do your workout in the morning. You're giving yourself permission to prioritize you so that you can be the best you then for everyone else the
Mhm.
rest of the day.
Right.
And I like that.
Thanks. Oh, Becky, the time with
Yeah.
your kids is so precious. As us old schoolers call it, quality time with your kids will love so much. Yeah,
Yeah. And those are the memories, right? That is what they'll look back on and realize that they had a rich childhood, a really good life.
right. Whoa, Sarah,
Sarah, way to go.
fancy. Wow, nice work. Yeah, I
Thank
think,
you.
like this weekend, we made a decision on Friday morning. We got up really early, and the girls started their schoolwork much earlier than they have been. And we went camping this weekend up north. And um, we were on the dock in the sun. The girls went swimming in the freezing lake, but like by Friday afternoon, we were, just on a lake with blue skies. And I thought, man, every bit of work it took to get to this point was worth it, because then we had almost all day Friday and definitely all day Saturday of just hiking and fishing and riding bikes and playing. And I there's just so much like closeness and relaxation that comes with it, that I being able to set that time aside and say, we're going to just go, we're going to go do this. I came back yesterday feeling much more patient for schooling and work and everything else that needs to get done. So,
I
it,
think that's so important. What you're doing is finding the carefree, right? Like finding the carefree so that you can enjoy and fill your life with joy.
right. Yeah. And I mean, I like Saturday morning, I don't think we made breakfast until like 11 o'clock. Maybe that should be called brunch.
Brunch.
I was drinking coffee, and the kids were playing, and we were visiting socially, and it was like, there's no rush, there's no time. We always say there's no time up north. It doesn't matter. You can do what you want when you want. You can eat when you want. You can sleep when you want. And so we just
Sounds
slowed
kind of
down.
like quarantine.
Yeah, slow down a little bit. So
So let me ask you one thing that I'm a little nervous about is, my son is a teen, and so he's paying attention to the news, and so he's heard, oh, everything's open, so he's like starting to make plans so that he can see his buddies again, right? And I totally get that, right? Wanting to hang out with his friends, but what kind of advice, other moms, do you have for helping kids transition still safely so that all of this, stay at home that we've done isn't wasted,
yeah.
so it doesn't just spiral into something.
Well, let me just start out by saying that this is my personal opinion and not a reflection of Tina or the Coolest Coast. But my personal opinion, especially as it relates to outdoor activities, is I want my kids to start having that social aspect. And I think for kids to get outside and play is really going to be okay. I actually just looked as a point of reference at Milwaukee County yesterday at the numbers for kids. So basically an age group under 20. And I think out of the 5,000 cases that are in Milwaukee, there was like 85 that were under 20 years old and no deaths. So that age group is very resilient in terms of I guess, coronavirus. And so if a parent comes over and drops their child off here and the kids play outside for a couple of hours or start playing catch or playing ball or doing whatever, like, my heart tells me that that will serve them mentally and socially better than my concern about whether or not they may get the virus. And the numbers tell me they'll be able to recover. They're wired to handle it. So how about you, Tina? What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess it's not so much my fear that he would get it, but that he would then carry it back, kind of like an ant carrying poison back to the nest or something,
Right.
right? And so I just am wondering, if there's guidelines, how other parents are handling that. Because yeah, I would love to see him be able to socialize again as soon as possible,
Yeah.
but I also don't want it to be detrimental.
I think this decision and this conversation is something that a lot of people are having or trying to navigate. And, I think probably the age group that your son is and older, they have cars and they want to go and socialize, and you maybe don't have as much ability to control or manage where they spend time together or how they spend time together. I ultimately think it's going to come down to individual parents deciding what they're comfortable with and how they want to handle it. And then again, just being okay with their decision and letting the rest of it go.
Let it go. There we go. That
Just
sums it up.
right. Just let it go, guys. So make the decision that you feel best for your family. And if you feel comfortable having your kids play, then have them play. It's okay. And if you don't feel comfortable with it and you say, you know what, I'm going to keep them home, then keep them home. And you know what? It's also going to be okay. Just because I feel a certain way doesn't mean that I expect anybody else to feel that way. And I will certainly, I think my approach would be to allow friends and family to ask the question, would you feel comfortable with this? Expressing that I don't feel to put pressure on you. If you say no, I completely understand and support your decision. So
I think what I like about what you said, Kristen, is that you're giving yourself permission to trust yourself.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing that you can do, is to trust yourself as we make these decisions going forward, and trust yourself, to let some things go, and so that you can enjoy, because again, it is okay to not be perfect.
Right. I think the other thing too is, in some ways, social media right now has really put pressure on us to take a position, and it puts us in opposition with somebody else. And so that, I've learned, like, I'm reading comments and I'm seeing things from people, friends that maybe I don't agree with. And that natural instinct is like, I'm going to dig my heels in and I'm going to fight for my position. But when I step back and think about it, at the end of the day, especially with the moms that I'm connected with, we have much more in common than we do in that one piece that we don't agree on. And so I've really been trying to remind myself to say, I'm a mom, I'm working, I'm educating my children, I'm running my house, I'm supporting my husband. We're all doing that. So if I have here, let me get my hand in the right place. 5 things or 10 things or 20 things that are in alignment with every other mom out there or every other business owner out there, and we oppose on one thing, why am I focusing on that one thing? I should be focusing on the 10 things we have in common, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. I hope everybody's hearing that comment. That is so important, Kristen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this morning, for watching this episode of Coffee on the Coast with Moms in Lockdown, Kristen Odell and Tina Prigge. We're so happy to see you, so happy to share these thoughts. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. Stay well, everyone.
Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, let it go.